Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a conversation with our president. They're going to be bringing more chairs out, I believe, so for the folks standing back there, chairs are on the way. At the university-wide address, we tried a question and answer format, and it seemed to work very well, so the president suggested perhaps we could do this again. It's a way for him to connect with everybody, find out what's on your mind, answer questions. With a total of about 2.5 months under his belt, he should be able to answer just about anything that you come up with out there. Yesterday there was a focus event at the Gregor, and the keynote speaker said that every good thing starts with a conversation. And that's what we hope happens today. But a conversation means we need other people to talk to. So we have microphones right here, and we encourage you when after the president's made some opening remarks, to ask questions, because that's what this is about. Or if you have something to speak about, make a comment or two. We also have some questions that'll come in off the live stream from time to time. I've got a laptop over here. And if that doesn't work, I've got a stack of them over here from the university-wide address time. So we won't lack content, I don't think. But what would really make it good if you stood up, went to the microphones, and participated. So thank you very much for coming. Alan, if I can invite you to take over.
Thanks, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. I hope this is a good respite from what you should be doing. Teaching, going to class, doing research, all sorts of things. Important announcement. I'm not here to announce a new president of the university. The board has started work on this and has a search committee, but we are some time away, so you're stuck with me at least for the time being. And there's no risk I'll be hired away. When I worked at Ford one day, a reporter said to me, "Why weren't you hired away?" And I said, "It requires an offer." Before we do go any further, I want to mention that we have one member of our Board of Governors here, Eugene Drecker, sitting there. Eugene, thank you for coming. The board does a lot of work, and I'm delighted that Eugene took time out of a busy law practice to be here. I'm only going to make just a few comments, and then we'll open it up and talk about what you want to talk about rather than what I want to talk about. First is, this really is a great place. Yeah, we'll come to problems, and we'll spend a lot of time this morning on problems. But I find that even at my advanced age, I'm energized by Wayne State University because so much is going on and going on all the time. Yesterday we were talking about Midtown and how we're going to make this area better. And the football team is going to have the best record it's ever had. And the Hillbury Theater opened, and they're in business. And there are all sorts of courses being offered, and I hope taken by good students. I realize that the semester is coming to a pretty fast end here, isn't it? I'm just getting warmed up, and the students are thinking it's time to do something else, like have a holiday pretty soon. And therefore, we're going to give the day after Thanksgiving off, so please be aware of our generous things there. We have all sorts of interesting people come to visit here, don't we? And incidentally, I encourage more of you to go to those. And I think we've learned one thing, and Michael and I have talked about this. We don't have enough of them that are oriented to the students. And so we'll be talking with you and your clubs and Dean Strauss and people like this about how to change that. They aren't designed to entertain me. They're designed to inform and sometimes to entertain a whole bunch of people across the campus. So we're going to do a little tuning up on that. But as in any place, we got plenty of things to do. This is a great research university. Thanks. I'm now on the bottle. It is a great teaching university. It's a great public service university. And when people say to me, which of those is the most important, my answer is clear, it's yes. Because the great universities do all three, and they do all three well. They don't say, I'm going to make choices among those three. They make choices, and we're going to have to make some choices among some of the things that we do. I was taking a little peek this morning at this card I've been given, not the one that gets me into a parking lot, which obviously is important these days, but it said we have 350 academic programs. We brag about that, and I'm not sure we should be bragging about it. Maybe we should have fewer, broader, deeper, I don't know. We have to think about this because we're going to be under a lot of pressure from government people, from media, to prove that we're doing a good job. And we'll talk about that a little bit. In fact, let's talk about three things and then open it up for you. What do we hear about Wayne State these days? Number one, you got a retention or a graduation problem. Not enough people that you take in graduate. What's wrong? What's wrong is that we have taken chances on people, and people are taking chances on us when it's not sure in their own personal circumstances that they have the money to continue, or their family situation allows them to continue, where you've got to have work and do things like that these days. There isn't a surplus of jobs, that's for sure. And so Ron Brown, as our new provost, is leading the retention, that's a good word for it, effort, I guess. We've had plenty of studies. In fact, one day with exasperation, I said, you all have heard of Dr. W. Edwards Deming, the famous statistician. And he described work as plan, do, check, act. You plan it, you do it, then you check to see how it's working, you act to fix it, and then you go round and in. We stop at plan. We are going to do some of the doing. And this is what Ron is working on now, and incidentally we'll be developing systems so we can check on which of these programs are the best and which ones aren't so good. So that work is underway, and I'm delighted that we're making such good progress. The second I'll describe as the Wayne Way, which I understand is a marvelous term for lousy service. We always had terms like that in the auto industry as well. Deferred maintenance is a great term, isn't it? That's not only the auto industry, that's about everywhere. I've got some deferred maintenance at home. The neighbors think the place is falling down, but we call it deferred maintenance. Service, we're going to change. The Wayne Way is going to go way away because we all want working with each other, sideways, up, down, however you want to describe it, people who help us, who know their stuff, who work hard, who can answer questions, who are polite, knowledgeable. And incidentally, I'm not suggesting everyone here below the president is bad. A lot of these people have an inadequate training and inadequate guidance. Isn't it interesting that in an educational institution we haven't done training? Well, isn't that an interesting thing of not taking care of your own, so to speak? So that will be changing. You'll see a lot of work in the near future, I think, working through the processes of customer service. And it goes way back to how do we talk to people when they are thinking about leaving high school or thinking about going to college, and how does that fit in with us? And all the way through signing up to be a rich alumnus and give generously for now and forevermore to the university. And every one of those steps has to work. I've described it in student terms, but all the way through, it is administrators, faculty, people like me who have got to make those things work the way they should. And then finally, and I don't know much about this subject, that's not only true about it's true of the others as well, higher education is going to be under attack. It's going to be under attack in Michigan because we've got an enormous state budget deficit. And all the tricks, apparently, that anyone could think of in Lansing have been used. And now we're down to the reality. And depending on who you ask, there's a deficit for the coming year, not the year we're in, the coming year, starting in the middle of next year, of $1 billion to $2 billion. And this is on the base of $8 billion. That's a big percentage. And there are two ways of handling deficits, other than the tricks. As I said, we've used those. Those two ways are higher taxes or lower spending. It's like at home. Isn't it awful? When you need more money, you've either got to earn more or spend less. You can borrow, of course, but most people think you're supposed to pay back, which is a very unfortunate approach. So that's only temporary. The state faces the same issue. So we are will be under extreme pressure for our state appropriation. And they are going to be saying to us, as our increasingly outside observers of higher education, what's the value of what you do? Do you provide value for money? And so all the things that set higher education apart, many of them good, research essentially sponsored by the federal government going way back to World War II, people are going to say, are we the taxpayers, we the tuition payers, we the citizens, are we getting our money's worth? And we're going to have to be able to prove that we do. Part of it is our own operating expenses, and we've taken out $50 million of operating expenses, I understand, in the last 5 or 7 years, whatever the number is. But that isn't all of it. Part of it is in the right in the heart of the education process. Are we providing good education for what people are paying? And are we having the right inputs? And this is going to come right down, and faculty members will instantly jump up and start for the door, so please lock them if you would. We're going to be talking about hours of work. We're going to talk about productivity, if you will. Yeah, I believe in academic freedom. But we discussed in the board meeting yesterday, this does not mean freedom from work. So we're going to have some hard discussions going forward. And I'm not just pointing to Wayne State. I'm pointing to Wayne State because that's what we're responsible for. But this is going to be nationwide. Now, are we going to change higher education fundamentally at Wayne State? No, we're not. Because we are not one of the great leaders in higher education for hundreds of years. So other places will do that before we will. But we will have to be mindful of those trends as we go forward. Well, enough talking out of me. I did not come to tell you everything I know. It would be a short meeting if I did. Let's see what you want to talk about. So I'll turn on this thing so I can go, if on the right side, wander around here. Go to the microphones, please. Name, address, and social security number, if you would. And we'll start in. First customer.
Thank you. My name is Johnny Blunt. I'm a student with the School of Library and Information Sciences. Yes, librarians rock, and I'm proud to be a librarian.
Mm-hmm.
You may know that the school has an online degree program. Now, I attended a meeting with James, I hope I'm not murdering his name, James Mazzoli, the director of online programs. And I was surprised that he told us that the university doesn't have a strategic plan for online programs. Not at all. And I was just wondering, why does the university doesn't seem invested in something that is helping the university? And what does that tell the online students about the university's commitment to them?
I think that is a terrific question. I think he's right that we don't have a strategy. At least no one has told me that we have a strategy. I've got my own emotions on this, which is that a lot of the discussion of online learning is backwards. That what we have thought is that freshmen and sophomores would learn online, and then when the courses got more complicated, you come to class and do things like this. And I'll come back to full-time online in a second. I think that's a mistake. I think it should be reversed. I think as kids leave high school or the military or jobs or whatever, and I've told not to call all of your kids because you're in your 20s or even in your 30s, students will benefit greatly from being here physically with each other and with a professor to start with. Then I can see some of the courses going online. But we do need a strategy. I fear, incidentally, and Rob, thank you, I'll mention this. Did we talk about this already? We need to be able to talk in Lansing next spring about how much we're doing online and why, and whether or not we think it's successful and whether or not we think it's efficient. It's efficient in a cost sense. There's not much question about that. But as a student, you're not worried about our cost, you're worried about your success. We have to go through that as well. Now, will we have some degrees, some courses, some majors, some whatever, where we can do the whole thing online? I'm a sufficient skeptic that I doubt it. So for the time being, I want to tune up what we're doing and do have a strategy. This has been a valuable meeting already, and go from there.
Yeah, but we already have a program. We have a totally online master's program.
We do?
Yeah.
In library science?
Yes, we do.
Good. That is good to hear, because Sandy keeps telling me she needs more money.
And I agree with her. Trust me. We're the central, one of the central supporting agencies within the university. Everybody uses the library, especially the sciences, and our materials budget is stagnant.
That's what
Trust
I've
me,
been
we
told.
need more money for you all.
All right. She didn't send you.
No.
Okay.
But I love my school, and
Okay.
I'm willing to risk coming up here to
Thank you
support it.
seriously, thank you. Because my view is that the library system is the intellectual center of this university. Yeah, the nature of libraries is changing. There's not much question about that. But if we don't do a good job with our libraries, we will be in the deep soup. Thank you for the comment. I agree with you fully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, oops, another question. An easy one, John, please.
Yes, I'm John Corvino in the philosophy department. Hi, Alan. Thanks for being here today. I was wondering if you could say a little bit about plans regarding facilities maintenance at Wayne State. And I say this especially as someone who teaches large lecture classes and often teaches in general lectures 150. And it seems to me that the state of many of our lecture halls is kind of sad. It sends a message that we really don't care. The microphones are hissing and popping. The lighting is dim, but if we made the lighting brighter, then you'd be able to see that the carpets are coming up and stained and the paint is peeling. And and as someone who speaks at a lot of other universities, I come back to my own home university, and there's a message, I think, that's being sent that we don't want to send. So I was wondering if you could speak on that.
Yes, be glad to. It hasn't come up since yesterday. When the search committee for, I guess it's a search advisory committee to be legal about it because the board will do the final selecting, a couple of members said inside the university they were embarrassed by the condition of the conference room. I had another problem with the conference room. Its layout was inadequate to have any real give and take as best I could see. I started my career here by yelling about this. And I don't think that was a terribly useful approach. And certainly the LEs didn't think it was a terribly useful approach. Because I found when I got down into it that the budget for maintenance and custodial work is terribly low. We have made choices that meant that we did not spend and are not spending on plain old ordinary stuff what we should be doing. We have found a little bit of money, and so we'll be doing a little bit. But as we prepare the budget structure for next year, and I've already said I know where the money's going to come from, we have got to give this a higher priority. We are not going to be a first-class university if we don't do those kinds of things well, because it is so visible to students, to people like you, faculty members, to visitors, and everything of this kind. We have already started on one that some people in the room will say, well, that is a very funny priority. We are doing over the entrance on whatever street I'm on, over there, Ferry or Kirby or something, beside FAB. And the reason is that the physical condition of the street and the parking lot was such that I wouldn't invite outsiders to come in. So I'm calling that, at least for some of us, the front door. There are other front doors around. But you've hit on something that's very important. I've said in different circumstances, the outside observer, if he or she sees things like that, will conclude that we aren't professional in our main line. If we can't do the little things, can you do the big ones? We think we can do the big ones, but we are going to do the little ones. And it fits into this whole question of service, it fits into budget and so forth. So, thank you.
Harpreet Singh. I am a professor in electrical and computer engineering. I have been with Wayne State for the last about 29 years. I came at a time when Michigan was not in an economically good condition, and I think so was Ford.
I remember that part.
Okay. And then came President Adamani, and within a short time of his coming, he could get about $120 million from state, and I think that changed the entire things in the university.
Right.
And similarly, Louis Ross, I think probably he must have worked with you. He also was responsible. He was our alum, and he also was responsible for improving Wayne State in a number of ways, and also Ford.
Right.
During all these years, I have seen many developments, and I think our institution has improved a lot. I love this school. But I do find that even in 1981, the number of students at Wayne State was about 30,000. And I still find the number of students is, again, about 30,000. We had long been having a desire to increase the number of students from 30,000 to 40,000 so that we can make a better case to the state to get more funding. And I think my question is, again, what efforts you think under your able leadership will be able to have so that we increase our number of students from 30,000 to 40,000?
Good question, thank you. When I got here, I found that there was a set of efforts called strategic initiatives or something like this. The first one of those was to increase the enrollment to 35,000. I went through that list of strategic initiatives and I thought, at least to me, there's no overriding coherent plan. Each of them made some good sense, but I wasn't sure when we got done what we had. So the committee that worked on those has reconstituted itself and will have its work done, I think, here in a matter of weeks. I said at the last meeting that I thought setting of an objective of 35,000 or attaining an objective should be an outcome, not an input. I found, incidentally, in the car business that setting volume objectives were rarely achieved by just yelling about them. We tried that, didn't work, because apparently other people yelled about theirs too at the same time. I don't know where we should go on enrollment other than, number one, stabilize, and two, go up. The population of this state is declining. The cohort of people age 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever it is, leaving high school is declining. So we have got to get our share of increased enrollment from other people. Part of it will be the result of the retention effort, which is to keep the people we have, more of them anyway. Part of it will follow in an effort led by Ron after that, as the provost. What are our admission standards and what are our academic standards of the place? Part of it will come with an effort that we have underway to get many more transfers from community colleges. We are doing an extremely poor job. I think that's an accurate description of how we're doing on attracting transfer students from community colleges. We're enhancing especially our relationship with Macomb Community College, which has a rising enrollment, nice facilities, is not going to be a 4-year baccalaureate degree kind of organization, so we can work together there. But it is true, isn't it? We learned this in the car business. Higher volume covers a lot of sins and a lot of inefficiencies, and it's a lot more fun. Downsizing is such an interesting word. It reminds me a little bit of deferred maintenance and being a funny word that I don't want to use. So yes, our effort is there. First, I want to get some of these fundamentals of service straightened out, of alignment of the organization, and then we'll see what we can do to be a bigger university.
Good morning. My name is Susan Titus, and I'm president of the Union of Part-Time Faculty. I know that you have spoken about increasing the number of full-time tenure-track faculty. Representing the over 1,300 part-time faculty that taught at Wayne in the last year, we have some questions about the role that part-time faculty will play.
Right.
Specifically, We do teach, in many cases, at many universities. However, a lot of us bring a history of work in the community and advanced degrees, publications, just as full-time faculty do. We think that you might want to consider that you increase lectureships and make sure that part-time faculty are considered for those. Many people consider part-time faculty as sort of failures. You know, if you were any good, you'd have a real job.
Right.
That's one thing. The other thing is that as we've negotiated over the past several years with the administration and worked well with them, we have found many cases where part-time faculty could be used in better ways. And many of us would like to be involved in governance of the university and to have our teaching, which is what we do primarily, to have our teaching celebrated in teaching excellence recognition. Finally, we did a quick review, and within the surrounding communities, there's over 100 communities where part-time faculty live. We really want to be a part of the voice in Lansing to make sure that Wayne State's future is funded better than it has been recently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Ron Brown, as the provost, and I received a letter recently from your organization, and I saw last night or the night before a note setting up a meeting to discuss this. Ron also sent out a letter earlier, last month, I guess now, commenting on the importance of the part-time faculty. One of the phrases that got me in total agreement with what he said was that many of you have strong professional backgrounds, and you bring a degree of professionalism in a certain area. This is probably more true in the professional schools and undergraduate, but nonetheless it could be true there as well. That is hard to replicate in the full-time faculty, and we want to continue that. This is a question of balance. We want everyone involved. I was going to end the time, but I won't say I'll end it, but I want to mention this right now before I forget it. I would like everyone in this room and everyone on this campus and everyone who is an alumnus and alumna and everybody else to be in sales for this university. That will help in Lansing. That will help in fundraising. That will help in recruiting faculty. That will help in attracting students. Wouldn't it be great if we can all say, you know, I hope your kids go to Wayne State University. I know they could get into Princeton, but they'd be better off if they went to Wayne State. Now, they may sort of giggle at you when you say that, so that may be an extreme, but we can think of another 150 or 1,000 universities where this would be a very good place for that. So, simply put, we value what we're doing. We want to have a sit-down, which Ron is organizing, to see what more we can do to capitalize on all the values you bring. Thanks for the comment. Yes?
I just had one request, Mr. President. I was just wondering, at the present moment, Wayne State doesn't have an out-of-state tuition policy for veterans. They give in-state tuition to current active duty and their family members, but there is no clause for veterans. And I was wondering if you could review this policy.
Yes. I heard about this at another place, which will be nameless because they were doing it, and people therefore might like to enroll, so I wouldn't want to. Right. I may be in sales, but not in their sales. Again, Ron and I have spent some time taking a look at the whole question of making this a good place for veterans. We want to make it a good place for veterans, and this will come up, and we'll be glad to discuss this issue.
At the current moment, with a lot of veterans coming back, Wayne State's pretty like tuition unfriendly at the moment.
Right.
Very expensive.
Right. And they have money, these veterans.
Yeah, but not
Uncle Sam's money, that is.
Yeah,
right.
Uncle Sam's money, but not their families.
Oh, okay. I guess that's true. Good. Thank you.
Alan, we have a question from online. What is the function behind the curb changes, I guess the street construction on Anthony Wayne Drive?
The construction on Anthony Wayne Drive, and we had a great ribbon cutting back at the early part of September. And I believe that's before everyone knew how it was going to look. And that was a great event. As I understand it, the purpose of changing Anthony Wayne Drive was, one, to make it more pedestrian friendly, because we have a lot of people crossing to go over to Manoogian and places like that, to the athletic facilities and so forth, and to the parking garages. That meant slowing down traffic. We also had those who believed it wasn't terribly attractive. I think most of us would join in that. We also had the view of transportation experts that it would be safer as well if it were more pedestrian oriented, and therefore the traffic would slow down. I must confess I hadn't really thought that we were going to be parking up against the median and therefore getting out of the car and running across, or whatever one was going to do. But those were the purposes. Time will tell how it works. The only good thing I shouldn't say good, I think it may well be an interesting idea. I believe the city and the state paid for it, so that makes me feel a little bit better about it anyway. So, yes.
Good morning, sir. My name is Scott Clevenger. I'm a current student with the College of Nursing in the CD2 program, and I'll be graduating next month. I was encouraged to come and share my situation with the funding for tuition and stuff. I'm a displaced auto worker, took a buyout with Chrysler, and I'm under the, I don't know if you're familiar with the trade adjustment allowance.
Vaguely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's to assist auto workers that were displaced, took a buyout to go back for education. My situation with it is that what they do is at each semester, they're supposed, you're between them, the office, the Michigan Works office handles it. But anyway, you get tuition added to a card like this. Now, my situation is that, one, you get late fees tacked onto your tuition, which isn't because they wait till after your drop add period. And the thing that I ran into is I couldn't use this card at the cashier's office, so I had to do the online, which they tack on a 2.5% roughly fee. So in my case, in order to graduate and pay off the tuition, it's about like $1,000 in cost with late fees and that. I just wanted to make you aware of that, and I don't know if there's anybody that I can talk to about getting that applied or stuff. Yep. I just want to let you know about that.
Number one, thank you. Number two, I don't know who there is to talk to, but we'll find someone before this meeting is over who will be in touch with you, because it doesn't sound very sensible to me.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone around here who knows something about how to solve such a problem? Okay, John Davis, we'll get back to you. Right. Thank you. All right, here we are. Right.
My number is 73157. Go on the website, I'm there. Contact me, we will solve your problem.
Good. Best news I've had today. Right. Thank you. Gee, Scott, I thought we were going to make a little money on you, too. Oh, you're taking commission. All right. Chris.
Mr. President, how are you today? When we talk to or hear from business leaders and community leaders around the area, folks like Dave Egner, Hudson Weber Foundation, they refer to Wayne State as one of the anchor institutions in the region. What is your message to alumni, students in the university community in terms of how we embrace that notion, and how can we continue to be seen as a leader in the state and in this region from a university perspective?
Good question. We are a leader in metropolitan Detroit and this whole southeast region, and we need to be. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a concentrated effort, particularly from foundations, on how to improve economic development and therefore the conditions of living in this area. A lot of the attention, of course, has been paid to the city of Detroit. As the outsiders look, and a person who did a similar project at the University of Pennsylvania was retained by local foundations here to work on this, the conclusion was that Midtown was perhaps the best area for rejuvenation in Detroit. And that's because of the 3 anchor institutions, Wayne State, Henry Ford Health System, and the Detroit Medical Center. As I describe those, and I steal this phrase from some of the other people, these are institutions of place. In other words, we're not going to move. Other businesses can close up and move. The DIA can't move either, the library can't move, or the CCS can't move. So we are here. Furthermore, we hire a lot of people, and they make income. And we have a lot of customers. We call them students. The hospitals call them patients. They try to send theirs home. We try to keep ours here, as long as they can pay tuition. And so we've got the essentials of having a resurrection or restoration of Midtown, and I'd describe Midtown from slightly beyond Grand Boulevard all the way down to Woodward to about the Symphony, and several blocks wide on either side, including all of our campus, and I guess including the athletic facilities on the other side of the lodge. You will start to see a bunch of initiatives coming out of Midtown in the near future. One that we are the principal leader of, and it's really very good, is safety, because of our own police force, which, as you know, is a very strong and skilled police force. It is one, I think, where we and the police force are on, in part because, of course, they work for us, but we're on the same wavelength. They are here to protect us and make this campus safe. I have been told, there are numbers, I haven't seen them yet, that our campus is as safe, if not safer, than the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And so this is a terrific plus. And Tony Holt, sitting in the back, is the chief of police. If any of you... I hope that some of you don't meet him professionally, but in any event, he is not only handling our campus, but quite a lot of surrounding area as well. That is element one. If we don't have a safe campus and a safe neighborhood, it won't do any good to talk about all the other things. But now you will see more housing development, more retail development, more coordination with the various cultural institutions. Some initiatives which I will not announce today because I don't know the details and I can't announce them anyway, in housing, to encourage people to live close by here. I expect we're going to see the rail line running up and down Woodward. That's going to change things. You can get down to see the Lions then even faster. And come home at your own speed. So that's what's going on. Let me generalize or add just a little bit more. In my earlier life, I was involved with the New Economy Initiative because it was started by the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, where I'm the chairman of the board. The purpose is economic development. And as I said to my colleagues then, this will never be a city of power if charity and philanthropy focus only on arts, healthcare, education, etc. We've got to have something that's economic development, which in English means jobs. And they have put a lot of money into TechTown. TechTown now is the largest business accelerator incubator, which means helping new businesses get started in the world, with 282 companies located there. Now, some of those companies are only a mailbox. Some are labs with all sorts of things going on. But things are happening. So when we add all those together, I think we've got the potential to have a substantial change in all aspects in this neighborhood, change for the good.
President Gilmour, over here.
Oh, excuse me. Oh.
It's that voice.
That's right. That's right. Coming out of the...
Two things. I understand Governor Masseron. Actually, I see Governor Masseron has joined us.
Well, good. Thank you, Paul.
Slipped in back. And we've got several questions coming from our online viewers. One, are there any plans to fix administrative problems from start to finish? We're not user-friendly when it comes to enrolling, registering, etc.
A quick answer, yes. And as I said some before, we're getting the plans done, but then we're going to have execution. I don't know in which sense yet. I say that because Bill Ford said that to me one day when we were talking about the auto business, and I said something about execution. And he said one of their football coaches, when asked by the press, what did you think of execution? He said, I hadn't thought of it. So,
well, let me know when you,
all right.
when you decide.
But seriously, this is important. It is one of the weak parts of our university, and it does not need to be. As I said before, we've got a lot of good people. We haven't got people here who are sitting saying, today I'm going to screw up, and boy, I'm going to be happy when I get done. We've got to get the jobs delineated. We've got to get the training. We've got to get the materials. We've got to get the whole thing done, and we're going to.
And you may want to mention the fact that we'll have a very complete survey to students, at least coming up very quickly, within the next week.
Next week, what we'll call a market research survey is going to students. Within a month or two after that, there'll be one going to staff and faculty as well? Or?
It would be less time than that, I believe, but yeah, both to staff and faculty first and then staff afterward. Okay.
You'll see some questions that you, for those who have been around here, may have seen before. This will be, to some extent, a longitudinal, if I could say a big word like that, survey. In other words, where were we 3, 5, 7 years ago? What are the trends? Second, and this is an interesting part we're trying to put in, because I stole this idea from somebody else, of course. We're trying to put in some questions of motivation. Why did you select Wayne State? Why do you work here? Things of this kind. Or what bothers you most, and so forth. But get below that a little bit as to some of the whys that will be useful.
Here's one related. Did anybody else? Please. Come on, this is a conversation, so please feel free to come to the microphone.
He comes to my office and asks questions all the time. So.
When can I get that raise? I'm mentioning this one, which is related to the other. I think it's more of a comment, but it's about the processing time. Are there plans in place to lessen the processing time for applicants? Currently, it takes 3 weeks, so it's about systems and processes. And I know that you had mentioned potentially getting micro-consulting things to look at just those sorts of things.
Just the processes, and we used to call them in the, what word did we call them in the car business? I can't remember. But it was interesting. You would find essentially roadblocks built in the process that were there for very good reasons, but they just slowed everything down. A little sermonette from me. Big organizations are scared of making mistakes, and therefore they put in all sorts of controls. I used to say at Ford, the finance manual, which was this thick, literally, on how to do things, started by mistake. One day, someone took the money home and forgot to bring it back. And so page 1 says, do not take the money home. Well, they thought that was sort of rude, so they took some of the parts home instead. And so page 2 said, do not take the parts that are going into the cars and trucks home. And it went on from there. These big fat manuals are largely the product of past mistakes. And somehow we want to go through this so that we don't make mistakes. I'm not here to say we should have more mistakes and we'd all be happy. But somehow we want to go through and modernize, particularly with IT, because so much of what had to be done by human beings, like me in the old days at Ford, doesn't have to be done that way anymore. And so we can speed up the stuff, make it more efficient, and make it much more friendly to the students and the faculty and the staff and everybody else associated with us. Not rocket science, but hard to do. It's not easy. As I said, yelling doesn't get it done. I tried that, whether it was here or other places. But it does take a lot of carefully detailed work to make those new systems go the way they should. Forward, incidentally, this has nothing to do with any of you, changed its manager of pension checks from people like me, from one bank to another. That was extremely interesting. They said this was going to be great. They underwithheld my income tax, and I was extremely pleased with that. But they will catch up the next time after I complained. So how do we do this, but not screw the whole place up forever? So that's one of the things we'll be facing.
I have another question till the audience gets over its shyness. Can undergrads apply for credit based on professional experiences for those who have been working for several years and going back to school? This is known as prior learning assessment credit. I don't know if you know the answer to that, but I
certainly don't. We'll assign that to Ron, the provost.
I figured you'd do
that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
can understand the rationale for it.
Sure.
Then the question, of course, becomes the value of what those past experiences were. I see Bob is the dean of the law school. I've been sued several times. Does that give me any credits in the law school? Right.
Depends on if you won or lost.
Sure. Well, that's right. Either way, you pay.
Here's one that just came in. Will we be raising our admissions standards?
Don't know yet. But we've got a disconnect, it seems, when our retention and graduation isn't what it should be, and yet which means to some extent people aren't able to make it through. And at the same time, the demands out in the real world for knowledge don't seem to have declined. Not that we're running a trade school, we're not. We're running, I hope, a thinking school, helping people understand the process of being able to meet new problems and think them through, handle them, private life, public life, whatever kind of life you're in. So we're going to take a look and see where we should be. Don't know yet. And also, and Ron again is working on this, and I say this will be seriously, I'm not sure what we should be measuring in the admissions process. Because people come with such diverse backgrounds, such diverse educational experiences. What we want to be doing is measuring potential, not the past. But how do you measure potential? Normally, look to the past to see what the potential is. If the Tigers are going to sign the next 300 hitter, it would be nice if the person had hit more than 200 sometime in the past. We look back. But some of the time when we do that, we're missing people that we shouldn't be missing. So we need to go through that. When I suggested that each person have a personal interview, that was greeted with horror because it is very time intensive, obviously. But it's going to be necessary to think through this whole process. Yes?
Good morning. My name is Justin Raju. First, I want to say that I've enjoyed your time here and hope that you stay as long as you can.
Thank you.
It's been a good tenure so far.
Thank you.
The question that I had is also...
Just to interrupt for just a second. Regrettably, the board's in charge of that, not me.
This is another process-related question that I would say extends past just admissions. In terms of things that seem to be routine and it should take 2 weeks, end up taking 4 or 6. What is Wayne State doing? What are we doing to what are we currently doing to improve those processes, but also develop a better sense of customer service across campus?
Not quite ready to start on that. Won't have anything really to report for 2 or 3 months. But as Michael alluded to, looking for some people, both inside and out, to take a look at all of the processes down to the minute detail, to see where the roadblocks are, where the bumps are, whatever you want to call it, to see how we can get the stuff straightened around, and again, using a lot of IT, where it helps, where IT helps. Now, IT being cynical doesn't always help, because IT doesn't answer terribly well. I don't mean the IT people, it's yes or no when you put the stuff together. But I would hope that, when's a good time to say this? You would start to see some different approaches by the middle of the spring.
Thank you.
If we don't have those done, and I say this with dead seriousness, not just on that, but on everything we've been talking about in terms of processes in the Wayne way, I will be considered when I leave here that I didn't succeed. This and retention are the most important things I can work on, in addition to getting our unfair share of Lansing's money. But that goes with the territory. But this does need to be done.
Well, for you and for all of us, I hope that you do succeed.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thanks. Will we be working on bringing the quality of the off-campus classes up to those of the on-campus classes? So apparently there's a feeling anyway that there's a
I didn't realize
disparity.
there was a difference, but if there is, the answer is yes. Because when you get a Wayne State degree, it does not have a footnote. I hope it doesn't anyway, earned off campus or out there in Oakland County or wherever. No, I haven't seen any concern about this before, but we should be mindful of it.
Okay. Does anybody...
I'll back up, though, just a second. I can understand that question better. If I go and get an MBA from Wayne, but I get most of the courses at Macomb or Oakland, is there a sense that I wouldn't get the same stuff if I came down here and did it? Yeah, there can be that sense. Yes, we better be paying more attention than I just gave that impression of. Yeah. Because I think that, I go back to other universities which shall be nameless, as I reflect on that. Example, my nephew worked at Ford. He quit. I'll back up. He asked me, is it better to get my MBA while I'm still working or quit and get a full-time one? I said, quit and get a full-time one. You'll get more credit. You'll get more credit from Ford or any other employer. You'll also learn more.
Okay.
Now, does that mean everyone should do that? Heavens no. We all have our own circumstances. But we need to be sure that all of those other activities, other places have the same standards as we do.
And of course, you'll help him get back into Ford after he's done with his MBA.
Yes, right.
Right.
Yeah, just because I couldn't get him into the University of Michigan. Yes, go ahead.
Last question.
Good morning. My name is Krista Mowry. Question for you is, with all the restructuring that's been happening in corporate America within the Big Three, is that a trend that's moving to higher ed? And if so, what does that mean? What does that mean for Wayne State?
A quick answer is I don't know. But as I mentioned earlier, I think higher education is going to face, I was going to say an inquisition, and that might be a little strong, a thorough evaluation of what it does and what the value is. If you do take a look at all the institutions, and I haven't done a thorough job of this, which I'll prove to you now, I would toss out the view that organized religion and higher education are some of the last to face the new world. Now, they may well say, or I may well say, well, that's because our values are that way, and we can't just change our minds and go off and be efficient or be quick or be slow or be whatever we should be doing. But we're going to have to prove it. We can't just as well say, nope, can't do a damn thing. I was on the board of Henry Ford Health System for a while, and then went back on the board again. 15 years ago, the MDs said, no one can ever evaluate us. You don't understand, especially some tin bender like you. Every patient is different. How can you evaluate us? It's getting done these days. We had a little bit of discussion the other day, and I won't mention in which forum, by a person of power in this university said, if we can measure the results, and there's obviously a big federal and state push on this, if we can measure the results of primary and secondary teachers, we're going to measure the results of college professors. And the answer is you don't understand. because we all say that. When Consumer Reports wrote nasty articles about Ford, I said they didn't understand. They didn't, but anyway, they still don't. But so it's going to be an interesting time ahead, because the whole world keeps examining, and the pace of change is so fast. How do you retain the values of higher education and yet be responsive and modern? And responsive doesn't mean giving everyone an A, although there may be some people here who would be willing to adjust to such a plan. But how do you do it? Good question.
Thank you.
We'll see.
So we have 5 minutes left.
All right.
Roughly. I do.
Oh, we have that many answers, but
I know you had some closing remarks you wanted to say, but if I could just really quickly, these questions are important. One is about our national rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing anything to improve or to raise our rankings? This is Consumer Reports, etc. The other one feels like a comment. Will more attention be applied to the job being done by our professors, who are the backbone of our university?
The answer to that one is yes, because the professors are the backbone. I'll go back to my Henry Ford experience. When I was on the board, I was saying to a former colleague at Ford Motor Company, what a strong administration we had. He said, I go there to see the doctors. And very few people come to see me, even with the parking lot, the way it is. They come to go to class. They come to see people who are teaching and doing research or working in the library and things like this. It's mandatory that we do the best possible work there. I don't want to set this as a way of describing priorities, but I will. If the question is a first-rate faculty or terrific service, the way we talked about this morning, the faculty comes first. Because we've survived this long with lousy service, so we can do it a little longer. Do I wish to? No, and there's no excuse for it, and we can fix that. But we will be known in the long run and in the short run for the quality of education that we provide. There's no question about that. And I'm delighted that we've got in our budget for the year we're in more faculty lines, as they're called, which in English means a bigger budget, to hire more faculty. And again, I'll give the example, and many in the administration have heard this before. I was an HR person for a while at Ford, and I showed to my boss a bunch of changes of assignments that I suggested we do, and he handed it back and said no. And to be honest, it's a pretty good list. And I said, well, why? And he said, your job is not to fill vacancies. It's to build a dynamic organization. And that's what we need to do with these new faculty lines. It's not to say, well, you know, we need someone who can teach X. We probably do need someone who can teach X. But while doing that, let's be sure, number one, we got the best person can teach X, and that person can relate to the rest of us and tie his or her work into what other people are doing, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes. Universities are known for their faculties, not even for, well, I won't get into that. I was going to say parking. There is the great line, too, which I always have to mention in any of these meetings. This is now 50 years ago from Ann Arbor, when someone said, what's the university about? And the answer was, the alumni want football, the faculty want parking, and the students want sex. All right.
We're not going to close on that.
No, we're not going to close. We hadn't better. No, nor do I think we should take a poll, either.
Certainly not while I'm standing up here. Well, please feel free to give a few comments, but you might want to, my question is, what would you ask of us? And then we'll wrap it up with your remarks.
Good. I would just say, first of all, thank you. Thank you for being students here. Thank you for being staff here. Thank you for being faculty, administrators, leaders of the place. Thank two of the people for being on the Board of Governors. This is a very interesting and dynamic place. We've talked this morning about things that people are concerned about, and thank heavens we have, because those get fixed. But beyond that, higher education is a place of opportunity, more than about any other kind of endeavor I can think of. We take people who come here from high school or from the military or from jobs, some of them, and we change their lives. There aren't many other places that do that. And I hope, incidentally, we change their lives not only in what am I going to do for a living when I get out of here, but how am I going to participate with the rest of society and the rest of the citizens in making this place better. I say to the students, we are leaving this world in just terrific shape. You may not have realized that. Some people say things are a mess, but they just don't understand how hard we've worked to get to this mess. So we leave you then with plenty to do. But if Wayne State does its job, it is not just to get you that first job, which is good. Paychecks are a great asset. But it's to get you ready in the thinking process of how to adjust in a world that's going to be adjusting, whether or not we want it to be adjusting. We don't control the pace of change. We try to help it in certain of our research activities, in teaching and things of this kind. But the world is bigger than any of us or any single institution. So thank you for what you're doing. As I mentioned earlier, please be in sales for Wayne State. We need more students. We need more, what happened to David Ripple? Yes, we need more money giving, alumni giving, or we'll take it from non-alumni, we'll take it anyway. We're not choosy in the money side. Think about what this place can do for Michigan, for Southeast Michigan, and beyond. And I hate to admit this, presidents don't make a place. The organization chart is upside down. I'm the head support person. I do very little teaching. Not a single professor has asked me to come and help. I don't know why. Nobody's been able to thought of a subject, I guess, that I could handle, which I could probably prove. So the students and the faculty, all the rest of us working together, move ahead, because I do think we are starting to move. We've got further to go, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have all of you here. Thanks.